morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at some new cards, or 3 more cards we need to be talking about, which are coming out in the 100 start decks over in Japan. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, one of these is really, really good. Like, properly good. So let's start there with Liepard. Translations, of course, from the lovely Antoine Boulet. Now, when you look at Liepard, it's going to look very, very familiar. There is going to be another card which has seen a huge amount of play that this is going to feel very similar to. So we start off with 100 HP, which is actually sneaky terrible, and even not that sneaky, it's just terrible, because it's low, but you can't use Level Ball. And not being able to use Level Ball is big, because Level Ball is a ball search card that sees play in a whole bunch of decks. When you're playing Level Ball, you want as many Pokemon as possible to be searchable with Level Ball. This not being searchable with Level Ball is actually rubbish. We do like the low retreat cost of 1. We do not like the 2 energy 60 damage. Bad attack, not going to use it, move on with your life. But what it's got is the ability Trade. You must discard a card from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. It's Cinccino. It is literally Cinccino's ability. Discard a card from your hand, draw 2 cards. This is, in every way, shape and form, Cinccino. But it's not Cinccino. And I'm not going to sit here and try and argue that this is better than Cinccino. It's not. It is a worse version of Cinccino. Same ability, worse card. Now, the reason it's worse is twofold. Firstly, Cinccino's actually got a really nice attack. Single energy, 40 damage. Attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. I played a huge amount of Cinccino in my Excadrill deck that I played for Players Cup 2 and for a couple tournaments before and after. And it's a deck I played for a while. And the thing is, you don't rely on Cinccino's attack. You put it in there for the ability. But actually, sometimes if you're running a bit low on energy or whatever, especially in a deck like Excadrill where you are self-milling, it's a sneaky good attack. If you can take a KO with Cinccino and be able to accelerate some energy while you do so, now your opponent might knock it out, meaning you don't have it for next turn, so you've got to be a bit careful. But there are plenty of games where I took KOs with Cinccino. It was really, really cool. Liepard's attack is garbage. It's 2 energy, not 1. And sure, it does 60 damage, but it doesn't do anything else. It's a terrible attack. But really, it's the HP. 100 HP is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're looking at Cinccino, it can be grabbed with Level Ball. And I can grab all my pre-evolutions, but I can also grab Cinccino. One of the decks that is played quite a lot with Cinccino is the Malamar deck, which was popularised by the lovely Antoine Boulet. And you've already got Malamar that cannot be grabbed with Level Ball. Do you really want to be then adding in another one that you can't grab with Level Ball? I don't, personally. I really don't. So look, Liepard is not Cinccino, it is not as good, and I don't really think anybody can argue that it is. It is a worse version of Cinccino. What I do appreciate is that they're both just random Gen 5 Stage 1 Pokemon, so I do love that this ability is apparently reserved for Gen 5 Pokemon. That makes me happy. It's honestly about the regulation mark. Because Cinccino has a regulation mark of D and is going to rotate out in August-September 2022. And Liepard has a regulation mark of F and will rotate out 2 years later. And that is why we love Liepard. It's not because it's better than what we've got at the moment. As I've explained, it is worse than what we've got at the moment. But in less than a year, in 9 months' time, we're not going to have it anymore. And as soon as we don't have it anymore, it honestly becomes a moot point. And when we get to that stage, it's Liepard or nothing. And when it's Liepard or nothing, this is a great card with a great draw ability, which is going to see a whole bunch of play. And sure, you won't be able to get it with Level Ball, and you won't really ever be using the attack. And there are probably plenty of players like me who will definitely play this card, because this is the kind of card I end up playing in a whole bunch of decks. I tend to play a lot of single prize decks, and I like single prize draw engines, and I've played Cinccino a redonkulous amount since it came out. I'm going to play a bunch of Liepard. And I'm regularly going to sit here being like, I wish this was Cinccino. But it's not Cinccino, and there's nothing we can do about it. Honestly, it's a 5 Wassy card in a year. Right now, it's like a 2 Wassy card. You're never going to play it. There's no real reason to play this over Cinccino, and I don't understand why you would ever play more than 4 Cinccino. But in a year's time, this is going to become a staple in a whole bunch of decks. Even though we know it's not as good as what we used to have, it's still going to be amazing. Now, a card which I desperately want to be good is Flygon. For multiple reasons. Firstly, Flygon is inherently a cool Pokemon. Secondly, this artwork rocks. And thirdly, it's got a nice attack. Now, the 150 HP is a bit low for a Stage 2. I do like retreat cost of 1, but it's also Flygon. We've seen plenty of Flygon in the past that have free retreat, so not loving that I've got to pay a retreat cost here. Okay, fine. The last one that we actually had with free retreat was the one in Rising Rivals, and they've generally had a retreat cost of 1 or 2. And actually, aside from the one in Rising Rivals, we've had one other with free retreat, and that was, shall we say, a little while ago. I'm talking about the Flygon EX from Power Keepers. So fine, alright, it has had free retreat in the past. I want free retreat now, gosh darn it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like the second attack. 2 energy, 110, that don't impress me much. But I do like the first attack. You see, the first attack, for 1 fighting energy, does 50 damage for each energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. So, if you can build up their retreat, you can then start going a little bit nuts and smashing. Because let's not forget, we have an archetype right now that does exactly this. We got Leafeon. And right now, Leafeon is a legitimate deck, a viable deck, that does exactly this. Leafeon for 2 energy does 60 damage for each colourless energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. Now, this does 50, not 60. But it's a single prize Pokemon rather than a free prize Pokemon. And also, it hits a different weakness. And might I suggest a pretty good weakness. So actually, I don't see it as a replacement for Leafeon. I see it as a potential addition to it. Now, I am well aware at this stage, it's a Stage 2 Pokemon. It is not an easy Pokemon to actually get into play, and it's frankly a little bit awkward. And I'm sorry about that. But the fact of the matter is, this is a very, very cool card. It does big damage for very little energy, which is pretty gosh darn huge. And it can be really good. Now, as it stands at the moment, the only really good way we've got for increasing our opponent's retreat is Galamine. But to be fair, Galamine, it increases retreat cost by 2, which means your opponent is going to take an extra 100 damage, and this is going to add up pretty quickly. Single prize Pokemon, single energy, decent damage, good weakness, fits nicely into Leafeon decks if you can find the room. And I am aware that that is a very, very big if. I like it, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. I like it very much indeed. I'm still giving it 3 Wassies because I understand that it's a Stage 2 and it's awkward. But the fact that it's single energy and it does something that a successful deck currently does, I do think it's something we could take kind of seriously. And the final card we need to be talking about today is Mewtwo. Now, this is a very different kind of art style. I believe this might be a new artist. I could be wrong about that. And it's cool. It's not for me, incidentally. I'm not a big fan of the art personally. But art is a subjective thing. I understand why people love it. Someone the other day sent me a very polite message saying, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't understand why you keep calling that Okacheke Alchemy the best card ever. I have it in person now. I can look at the actual card. It's beautiful. And I think it's a ridiculous statement. But art is subjective. What does a Mewtwo actually do? Well, what it actually does, it's got 130 HP, which is alright. Means you are nominally out of range of Rapid Strike Urshifu. And, well, we'll just pretend they're not playing Inteleon, even though we all know they're definitely going to be playing Inteleon. And it's Psychic type, so you're hitting weakness against stuff like Urshifu, which is nice. And what we've got here is 1 Psychic Energy, 20 damage, heal 20. Well, you're not doing very much damage, and you're not healing very much damage. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem, I'm afraid. That's a bit of a problem. It's just a bit meh. Sorry. And then we got a second attack that's free energy 110. Well, I mean, look, I suppose you'll get Pokemon V that are weak, but you won't get V Maxes, and it's free energy. It's too expensive. This is actually, I'm afraid to say, not a very good card. I contend that Liepard is a great card that is going to see a huge amount of play when Chinchino rotates, not until it does. And I think that Flygon, although not necessarily a great card, has a huge amount of potential and has certainly got a deck that can be built around it. Just remains to be seen how good it ends up being. This, however, I mean, look, you know me by this stage. I tend to be a very hype-filled, enthusiastic fellow. And if I'm telling you I don't think this is a particularly good card and there's not much going for it, that's generally pretty damning. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to... Oh, yeah, score. 2 Wassies. It's not a good card. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.